na etese na 2016 no na wind of change no quantity man ba ya na anase MPP policies na no mode say umbedi aban na ebeba no ntino ntina nipa do na atibi kwoto abama wo no ana na MPP promises campaign promises anase manifesto promises so a omode buy no ya so far umbedi aban no almost 4 years in e ka so mo account for it etese ha etise yankasa e wo northern region se se no ya chem miensa ya northern region north east and ya savannah but enam se data ne kuta ne ye to ne di northern region intino ye beka northern region nyina abom but we are of course and penfon be region by region ne asa akwa region ma asa akwa development so a koso all the 3 northern regions no ansa ne wi so yakwa upper east and ya asa akwa upper west intino na what we say die ye froso ho no tabusafo kan ye ho nyina na ye no nyina na ye froso ho no ye ko ye so nyina adwuma ye wia ye be sense form afi na ye san aba the whole Ghana this ye san aba be bo akiri nti no de ye wia ye ngase ye focus on one region biem baby biara na be ba ye relevant say be discussion no ye na ye be focus on that over the weekend enipa bibri ekọ campaign ene campaign canvas ne de enipa akoso aye papa ye be bo parliamentary candidates ni na baso ma yete so mu yibibi ne be bo bia baso omo so ya ante so se mi se ba omo so eyi bibi to mo so ye bo mo baso na especially volunteer groups no so a omo nyina do mo ho agimu no talk of strategy patriots loyal ladies alpha patriots ne health bebri it is a V24 no so no ya dia omo coordinate enu ntino ende kai ho ye ba ko fa press conference enche bia na Martin Amedu somebody last week na Martin Amedu 2 weeks ago and Martin Amedu the report be e ba e fa ejapa royalties ho and okocho sentence bi kakra bi ekofa John Dramani Mahama ne e ba se ho asem in fact na nyono kwampo almost atwo ba kwampo so efa ewura bisi Western Regional Secretary of MPP ono so komoto ho ase kakra FM. But at some Martin Amedu Ekan was a report ni say one momo die ne hwehwem kakra no e kire say ne hwehwem kakra aba ne kire say government official one no e John Dramani Mahama asem John Dramani Mahama tia kire ne netiko apine wakeka bi ache Martin Amedu kwa kache ne say mama nkotu de John Mahama kan was what kind of stupidity is that? What stupidity is that? Nene Martin Amedu so afire another salvo or fire back enu ntino ye ko alisa basi pa mete kitan kakra na ya hwe kakra ma mekwa ne wo wahene nkasa wahene mu akwaba
ya dia NPP amanyo kono nsɛmtrɔfo nhyiemu enadwade nso was a friend nsɛmtrɔfo na esema o ekyere Ghana fo no obeka ade akyere o my Ghana mede de owo hene ntwibo isi akonsa Abraham na okasa yi dana komia na obebe kasa ade akyere na yenim nsema ikura no ne nti sabre de wa ogina eye podium na chi nti yenkoko ti nsema na komia ewo awodema etifo
government under President Akufo-Addo is doing to lift this country into an industrial country. You remember one of the firm manifesto promises in 2016 to the Ghanaian electorate by the NPP and then candidate Akufo-Addo was to make a determined, systematic effort to get this country on the path of industrialization. And this promise of then candidate Akufo-Addo was captured under the popular phrase, one district, one factory. In short, IDIF, one DYF. Now I meet with you this afternoon to bring to you a progress report on how far President Akufo-Addo and his government have come in delivering this very key promise to the good people of Ghana. Now, I don't think any of us would doubt about the need to industrialize this country. Now, since the beginning of the last century, the 1900s, this is over 120 years ago, Omanfm, our country, then known as the Gold Coast, had been set up in a kind of economy that was described as a primary producing economy. Starting with cocoa, we then went on to become the largest producers of cocoa around about 1911 and so on. We then became major producers of timber, gold. We actually were known as the Gold Coast. We're producing diamonds and other mineral resources and so on. But the structure of the economy was that we're producing these commodities in their raw states, and we're selling them in their raw states. We're producing the cocoa, we're producing the timber, we've cut down all our forests, just left with a little bit of it. Still producing gold, diamond, and so on. And we are still exporting them largely in their raw states. Now, beyond these cash crops and minerals, even the crops that we sold locally, basically the food crops, the maize, the cocoyam, the fruits that we produce, pepper, yam, rice, cassava, tomatoes, which our farmers produce in abundance, we still largely sell them in their raw state. The result is that our food farmers in particular have not seen a much dramatic increase in their welfare, because when the production is done, whether it's maize, whether it's tomato, whether it's rice, whether it's cassava, when the production is done and there is not much value addition and all the raw produce have to be pushed on the market, what happens is that the prices fall and the farmers lose a lot of money. They cannot pay for the cost of production, which includes bank loans, which they may have collected to do the production, and also cost of labor, which they may have hired in the cost of the producing the crop. So after production, because there isn't much value addition, the prices drop. In this country, we've always had reports post-harvest where farmers commit suicide in the north and so on, particularly tomato farmers, because prices collapse after harvest and they are not able to cover their costs and they become indebted to all kinds of people. Indeed, this state of the economy came into its full structure in the period when the colonial governor, Goggisberg, was the governor. The structure of the economy as a primary producing economy, producing raw materials for export, producing raw food for sale in the markets, became quite formalized under this colonial governor. So this type of economy has been described as the Goggisberg economy. And since the 1920s, that structure of the Ghanaian economy has remained. And that is one big reason why many of us in Africa and so on are still poor countries. And we are trying to get out of that. Now, it is generally agreed that if we have to make a big effort to get out from being a poor country, these days Ghana, we are classified as a lower middle income. But we all know that that is not enough for us. We need to move to higher middle income and then to rich country. Now, the lessons of history tell us very clearly that to have this big push, that to move any country from a poor country to a rich country, the major medium that you need to do this is through industrialization. And when you look at the history from England in 1800, the famous Industrial Revolution that took place in England, spread to the continent, Germany, Holland, France, and so on. This industrial revolution was what allowed the Europeans to basically colonize the whole world. Then it spread to America, and so on. And then lately spread to Japan towards the end of the last century. Towards the end of the 19th century. And then from Japan, it's becoming an industrialized country, Southeast Asia, now China. It's very clear that the path to lifting yourself out of poverty is clearly industrialization. Now, when we attained independence in 1957, our first president, Kwame Nkrumah, is very conscious of the need to industrialize if the newly independent country was to move rapidly from being a poor country to a rich country. And Kwame Nkrumah made determined efforts to set up the industries, to set up the factories, and factories and industries are used interchangeably, to set up the factories that will add value to the primary produce, that will add value to the cocoa, add value to the timber, add value to the gold, and so on. But we all agree that 50 years after President Nkrumah, we are still at the minimal stages of industrialization, and we are not yet an industrialized economy that is capable of throwing up thousands of jobs for young people on a sustainable basis. So this is the background that President Akufo-Addo came in, then candidate Akufo-Addo. He told the people of Ghana that he was going to make another attempt to industrialize this country, to add value to all our products, that will stabilize the prices, that will make agriculture from peasant production into a commercial business. Because when you produce 500 bags of maize and the price is stable, and you produce 1,000 bags of maize the next season, you double your income. And so you have every incentive to double your income by increasing production. And then in the third year, you increase production, you quadruple your income. But when you produce a 500 bags, and then you produce 1,000 and the price falls, and then you produce 2,000, the price falls further because you must push all to the market. There is no opportunity to add value to it, to convert the maize that you've produced or the cassava that you've produced into industrial products that can be sold in the supermarkets, that can have a shelf life of 6 months, 1 year, and so on. When you've produced the tomato and there is no value addition available to convert the tomato into tomato puree, and so you must push all the raw tomatoes onto the market, because after 3 weeks, 1 month, it starts going bad. And thousands of tomato farmers, everybody pushing their tomato onto the market, the price will collapse. And farmers will lose out big time. So, Nana Akufo-Addo pledged to this country to make a new effort to industrialize. Build up the industries that will process tomato, process yam, process cassava, and also build industries that will provide jobs on a sustainable basis for everybody in this country. And that has proven to be the real path to growth and to wealth in the world. So after that promise, which was dubbed 1D, 1F, fortunately, President Akufo-Addo was elected by the good people of this country. And he had a chance to begin this new effort to industrialize this country. True to his word, since 2017, this government has facilitated the setting up of factories across the country in this new effort to deliver an industrial economy. Now, the model that is being used is, and I must spend a few minutes on it. People would ask why the industrial efforts made by President Nkrumah did not seem to have lasted 50 years after, whilst the various efforts made by various heads of state, General Champon those days in the 1970s and so on, don't also seem to have yielded much. There have been all kinds of debate as to why they failed. The lesson that the NPP has taken has informed the model that has been adopted. Now, this model is a step away from the traditional and straightforward use of public funds, whether borrowed or raised through taxation, using public money to just set up factories. Instead, the model that is being used is that the factories have to be set up by private businesses, private entrepreneurs, with government providing the enabling environment and support. Now, let me just summarize some of the key features of this model. One, the private entrepreneur brings a proposal to government. An evaluation team looks at the proposal, which would include the DC or the MC of the area where the factory is to be sited and so on. So this valuation would include evaluating the proposal as to the relevance to the district, whether it has a connection with the main produce of the district, and so on. When the proposal passes this test, this evaluation by government, it is then referred to a financial institution, invariably a bank. It then goes through an evaluation by the bank to see if it will pass the test of what we call bankability. That means if the technical proposals, the financial proposals, the market analysis are all sound from the purely business view, as any bank will evaluate a business proposal. When the bank evaluates the proposal and passes it for viability, it is only at that stage that the private entrepreneur will become eligible for the enabling environment that government will provide. So by the time it gets to this stage, it would have passed rigorous evaluation by government, first by the local authorities to make sure that the project is a project that is relevant to the district, that it ties in with the produce of the district, that it will add value to the produce of the district. That's why I think the 1D, one district, one factory came. And when that evaluation has been made and passed, it is then referred to a bank. And this bank now subjects the proposal to sound technical, financial, and marketing analysis. Very rigorous process. It's only when the bank approves the proposal as a bankable project that it is referred back to government, and then the project becomes eligible for government enabling measures. Now, these measures that government has made available to a project that has gone through this critical evaluation, they include the waivers of duty and levies for imported machinery and raw materials that may be needed by the new industry, 5-year corporate tax holiday. There's also a subsidy on the interest on the loan that the bank will provide for the enterprise. There's also free technical assistance that will be provided by experts to the enterprise.
Omanfm.
And there's also extension of infrastructure like access roads, electricity, and water to the project site. So these are the key support that government would offer to the project after it had passed through all of these eligibility evaluations. Now, this model has been carefully crafted to avoid the mistakes of the past, where largely public money was used to set up industries. And there was not enough care taken to ensure that this factory that is going to be set up is a factory that will have a connection with the produce of the area, that it was a bankable project. So this model has been set up to avoid all of those mistakes, to ensure that the project is a bankable one, passed all the eligibility criteria, and even then it is still not going to benefit from taxpayers' monies directly. It will still have to be funded by the financial institution, that it becomes eligible for the enabling environment that government has created, including extension of infrastructure and tax holiday and so on. So, and we all remember the recent example of Commander Sugar Factory, where the factory was set up $35 million or so, and then when it was finished, there was no raw material. So obviously you have to question the evaluation test that went on. We want to avoid that kind of situation. That is why this model has been chosen. It is a bit slow because of the rigorous evaluation steps that a project must go through before it is approved and before the bank will give some money for it to be set up and for infrastructure to be extended. So it is a slower process. But at the end of the day, it gives us a better chance of success than failure. And so that is why this procedure has been adopted. So what is the status as we speak? As of July 2020, 76 factories are in operation. 28 of them are completely new factories. 48 are existing factories that have brought proposals for expansion under the 1D, 1F, and they've had the proposals approved and funding provided. So 48 of them are basically extensions to existing factories, while 28 are completely new factories. In all, 232 factories are at various stages of completion. And I'll provide you with the list of all the factories, where they are, the name of the factories, the region, the district, and what they are producing. Now, the government, in hand with the 1D, 1F, is also proceeding on what we call the strategic anchor industries. Now, this is also government in partnership with the private sector, but these are to set up strategic factories. Basically, factories, this will be on large scale, and factories that will be selected, or the enterprise will be, the project will be selected based on its ability to solve a crucial need and provide what we call growth poles to the economy. So, for example, under this initiative, you look at the 10 biggest imports, and the effort will be made to duplicate the production of these 10 big imports, duplicate the production in the country. Now, candidates that will fall into this would include, obviously, rice, which we import a lot, chicken, which we import a lot, tomato, canned tomato. We import a lot of them. So the biggest 10 imports are going to be targeted and produced in this country under the strategic anchor industries. In some areas, it is called import substitution. That is the produce that the country imports. You make a big effort to produce them in the country, so you save the foreign exchange that people have to take and import canned tomato. If you become self-sufficient in canned tomato, all the money that are used to import canned tomato will be saved. If we become self-sufficient in rice, the monies that is used to produce rice will be saved. And when you look at many of the countries that have transitioned from being poor countries into rich industrialized countries, import substitution played a major role. Now, the selected industries under the strategic anchor policy will not only include the produce that we import heavily, but also include very heavy industry such as bauxite processing and automobile production. And you would remember that the push for the automobile development under this strategic anchor policy is already attracting investment from global brands such as Toyota, Volkswagen, and Sinotruk. And as we speak, Toyota has begun full-scale assembling of vehicles in this country. Sinotruk has begun assembling of their trucks in this country. Sorry, I said Toyota, rather Volkswagen, the famous VW. Toyota is going to follow suit. You start with the assembling, and then from there you get to full vehicle manufacture, or from there you get to the parts manufacture. When you see a typical VW, the parts have been produced. The parts are not produced at the VW plant. They are produced by dozens of people. Somebody producing just driving mirror, somebody producing just the gear lever, somebody producing the steering wheel, some factory producing just the valves, some other factory producing the seat covers. So there are hundreds of parts of the motor vehicle that are produced by small-scale producers spread across. So the potential for these vehicle assembling production units under the strategic anchor industry, in another 5 years, you would see the springing up of parts manufacturing, small-scale companies. And we have the Swamis and the Kokompes who are producing things that you wouldn't believe, from very minimal facilities. So you can imagine the impact of the vehicle assembly production units on the work of our talented artisans in some of these places. And that is part of the strategic anchor initiative. Of course, our own local Kantanka has also been granted a lot of incentives, including tax incentives and licenses, and also policy support. So they can also begin to make inroads into the local automobile market. Very soon, our country should become the hub of vehicle production in West Africa, and also the hub of vehicle parts production in West Africa. So
Omanfm. Omanfm. Omanfm.
So yeah, that's not my boy. As no the swimming, the way we enter for we are different. Well, no matter. And yes, a party names, but a dear back could be one nipa. And so, say, a na individualism, a agency, and therefore etimi prade tete no nyomo pre ya te se nkonya si ni ade anya form ni amapa ibe pre na obi apɛ ona but
sorry for the break. I think there was a problem with one of the mics. So like I said, very soon
Omanfm
under the strategic anchor industry initiative, very soon we'll become the hub of vehicle assembly in West Africa and also the hub for vehicle parts manufacture in West Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, even though we do not have a factory in each district, the progress that has been achieved in industrializing Ghana by President Akufo-Addo's government is remarkable in the history of the Fourth Republic. This is the most determined push to achieve an industrial economy for Ghana since President Nkrumah. Ghanaians, particularly the youth, must vote for this determined effort to secure for ourselves and our country an industrialized economy that produces and sells for both exports and the local market chocolate instead of cocoa beans, gold trinkets and ornaments instead of the raw metal, aluminium ingots instead of bauxite, cassava and potato chips alongside the raw cassava and the raw potato, yam chips alongside the raw yam, processed pepper alongside the raw pepper, canned tomatoes alongside the raw tomato, fragrant rice alongside the unprocessed raw rice.
Omanfm.
The effects of 1D1F and President Akufo-Addo's efforts to industrialize the country are beginning to show. As of July 2020, 139,331 jobs have been created, comprising 18,811 direct jobs and 120,520 indirect jobs. When you look at the country's response to COVID-19, the materials, the face masks, I'm sure 90% of the face masks that all of us use are produced in the country. The personal protection equipment, those heavy clothing that have to be used by our health personnel, I'm sure most of them are now being produced in the country. So that response alone shows you that the industrial capacity is being strengthened. Now, this industrial push, when you add it to the free SHS and you add it to the systematic digitization of the Ghanaian social and economic processes, we'll very soon secure for ourselves a country where no youth would be uneducated, with a vibrant industrial economy and a modernized digital society. I would present to you the list of the 236 factories in their various stages of production, those that are finished, those that are extra capacity for existing industries, those that are in the pipeline, and all of that. We have the entire list for you. I think it's showing on the screen, and we have that in the presentation that we'll send to you digitally. So at the end of the day, the youth in particular must provide for themselves a stake in this new economy that is being built by voting en masse for President Akufo-Addo to continue 1D, 1F, to continue the strategic anchor industry program, to continue with free SHS to ensure that no Ghanaian child would have education below senior secondary school, and to continue the modernization of the Ghanaian society through digitization. These projects or this process are safest in the hands of President Akufo-Addo. It's far more for Nana to do more. Thank you very much for your attention. Now, I understand them. I have to do the tree. Jennifer, Fatih, you do the tree?
Omanfm.
I understand your trees better than
107.1. This is how it is done. Oman shaping the nation.
Okay, so I would do a tree presentation. If you like a Ghana presentation too, I can make an attempt. So let me start with the tree.
Omanfm.
And this was the one I share in the same. Saying ya Bekaya 2016 elections, President Akufo-Addo, South time now a candidate. But the to Ghana for him say to Abamanwa or Babe Sisa Ghana, your economy, your sika seminal or body industrialization, I just a factories or be CC factories. Ewo Omamu Henya na apeja yen sika sem sheshe your friend economy no. Na Ghana economy no beto eneno. Osha ye juma se cocoa, se gold, se diamond, se timber. Ye tu cocoa no, ye chat timber no, ye tu diamond and a gold. Ye nyahoshe na ya ton. Na se o ton cocoa. On nyahoffa bibianga na ton cocoa. Ene de chocolate. Now crack chocolate free amanonia. Chocolate no born no ye be sika benye free chocolate no ye be 4 times benye free raw cocoa. Enti u ton cocoa no di komo bi was Switzerland no hu cocoa fu opoda. No adane into chocolate. No aton amount about 4 times sika o de ton cocoa no man no. Sounds na gold. Trinklets ya yinya ye pe ye digu ye komu rings, wedding bands na can we adding your free gold. Say team ye bi wo ha. Na ton raw gold na. Sika obinya ne kitwe bi. But so timi ye no trinklets. Ana agudie yazaneka. No sika wom papa. Na timber. Ucha duano na ton the two apostle ton timber. Ska obinya no so. But say wo de ye bia nkonya papa a obibeti de sini demo e de no ska wom pa. Nti Akufo-Addo e kan say sa Ghana for to abama no a oba be si factories a bibia ye dua e wo mamu ha no ye de bibi be ka ho te be ayen ton no raw na fe wo hwe wo free baby niema ye dua ne ton wa brochet to say cocoa ne gold ne nkanka wo timber ya kasa yen hihia ye wo fe kua adwuma sei udua banch na utwa banch a na the banch no raw no e de akodwa so udua bode o de bode raw de akodwa so o de kodwa so edi na otwe mienu miensa na esei enti ese opia ni nya de kodwa so na ne bo no atofom because obia epia ni de abedwa so enti na ebu pe ne bo no be kofom na so timi eye factory na sa factory no etimi dane bode no bi eye no chips no betimi si store be afebako ana bosominsia na ahwe Ghana ha ye de dollar ekra chips, potato chips, plantain chips, ekra free all over the world at the back of Emuha. I say what body waha. Ye wo bayre waha. Ye wo banchi waha. I bet the chips. The wenum nya no be nya factories e betimi e decent jumagi. And in any swade hu kese a Akufo-Addo de to Ghana for anim. Na oba ye nso no wanye ho akwadwo. We di ho adwuma pa na ye kasei. nhyehyɛ bi ɔde baa yɛ frɛ no 1D 1F ɛyɛ 1 district 1 factory etimi ama factory si ɛkɔ so dedenden ɛna ɛka sɛ yɛwɔ factories in Kwa sa 1 district 1 factory nhyehyɛ di aba 76 emu 28 ɛyɛ foforɔ koraa ɛna 48 na aka no ɛyɛ factories ɛwɔ hɔ deda ebia na egu na yɛahyɛ mu kena anaasɛ ɔmatimi abɛn aban 1D 1F ɛnya sika foforɔ ɔmo de bie adwuma num ɔmo de new production aka ho na ne nyinaa no de boma factories a ɛɛba 232 a ɛhyɛ saa 1 district 1 factory anisoadeɛ ho a President Akufo-Addo de abɛn na ɛnɛ Ghana ha yɛhyɛ aseɛ sɛ yɛ assemble cars ɛwɔ ha VW aba Sino truck omo ne company ɛwɔ China omo yɛ trucks pa omo so ma bagana ha omo so be assemble trucks no Ghana Toyota nso ɛba tianche bia West Africa ha cars a yɛ ton dodoɔ na yɛ be cars a ɛyɛ wɔ Ghana na afei wo ka bia sɛ ɛkɔ a nneɛma na ɛma no yɛ car no yenye ni nya wo factory baako don say bia driving mirror no factory bi na eya on the driving mirror nko an oye bia seat belt factory baako na eya no nko an oye engine cover factory baako valves factory baako ono na dwuma no nti VW or nipa o man driving mirror or factories o man seat belts or factories o man engine cover or factories o man gear omo produce to send a VW weapon enti bia ye koko mpenum ne Swami magazine num ebedane factories a enipa na ewo ho no aye ba be ye parts for the cars na ye wo memo hai enti ade a ye nnuano so kantankan so aban aso masen sene be omo so modjuma no ebe gina na ma adwuma ba na yenso yehu kasa ye wo yan kasa ye memu ha enti ya hyasie kakra enche bia enisoade ehu ebebem sena medical aka no 232 infie nan ya ebe dodo 230 be wie pi na menkai imre bia in the 4th Republic free 1993 ifie miensa enifa yenya 76 new factories ye adwuma na aka no nso eba na ohwe adwuma ede ama imebun a 139,331 jobs. 18,000 direct factories na afam 120 na kano indirect. O hwese na covid ba ye factories itimi gina ho na ye mask ye ataria doctors na ye nurses be hye hospitals na be a omo hwe covid fo ayare no kan nya dodo na ye nya wo Ghana ha nti ne yitwa to ne se Ghana for dodo particularly mebun munjina painting na say dwumadie yi empeja na njina wo Ghana ha dwumaye a ye de dane Ghana economy no into an industrial economy ene na adwuma no ba adwuma no gina ho na mebun titru montai President Akufo-Addo achi na monsan emano fie nai Senebeya said Jumadi 236 factories in ya ibetimi awie ani ya ye Juma ewo district na de koswo eba Senebeya so ye kuani na udua na utwa banchia na ehu hia so de nya bekodwa so ama ne bo na tofom e beto bi ni aye no cassava chips ye factories wo ho a eba beto na aye no cassava chips factories wo ho a body e be done into na ehu hia so be so ani nya because I break be done into plantain chips and it me shop be so nsia te be ma ne bo no egina ama ekua te be ma mabu nkura no ukokua mu a unsro o pebisa de akokua mu a bank de be ma and now pebisa de akokua mu a bank no ehwe se na sa ejima akwa e begina weti me twa bank no nti hihye na president Kovado de ba na the factories ba na dane ye economy no into industrial economy na de ehu hia pa ma emabu the fasopi ebeba wo hwe wiasim hanyia amman a omutimi free ohia mu a ene omonso omoma no tumpon a omo sika ninya wo hwe a eyet omufa industrialization a free english imamu be 200-300 years ago about Germany, Holland, France, besia ko America. Na say besia ko Southeast Asia, Japan, Thailand, Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, China. Ninya ya true industrialization. They say in sweet me ni na ya fasa kwan so. The no nya President Kovado aban dia ba ye dia hoden sonko ahyem. Ntienya mabu tichu ya tane chia ifina na eba no factory si dudro na ebegina na ye adwuma adi pontu sronko abroma no de dwuma sronko abroma no teno ne ye kasa titre de ba ha ewie yi ndamo asepa nyame hwa obia
Fatty like that tree
Omanfm. Omanfm. 107.1. This is how it is done. Oman shaping the nation.
Please, if you have
Frey and a day ewo and Alisa Hotel. Yeah, in some opinion on that two no me say wakani nyina mu wakani bro focus mu wi wakani twi kase mu e dey ada tray enoti ye den komo ene in a press conference ni nyina aba na wi ye ewo Alisa Hotel enoti me say omanfo na etie no nsem no muti ye na ira na nakomia wakan poto kase mu wi no wasaka ewo ye ni aka kase ma yetimi ati ase enti ye dey see ha ye da atifo nyina ase.
For Tebema Munina, Kwabaye, Alisa Hotel, na MPP for a press conference on industrialization, and Nana Akomia, managing director of STC, 1 year ago, and Komokaka. So far, the Mitubika take away a camera for money say, one district one factory no you say kasi ye can the adwuma pa and near pa about 74 of them and na pretty and they say aduane omo ye metas omo ye roofing sheets omo ye omo wa say omo process fruits ni sa na mani nyina no and then nyina just e wo hormone na akomia I press conference what the list no ato abonti we die wa person gin wa tinyi no list no e wo hormone pictures hormone videos hormone obetima kokrom hormone akwakoye ehwehwe mu mame kwa homa no so na 20 minutes ya kai ye fa mu be 15 minutes ne Uncle Ben Evson eni nkomo e wo northern region Uncle Ben mahamu akwaba
oh God be me for you na
Uncle Ben telefone na ejos na weekend no ko saying
oh na
asna de no kwa ne ha adwen kakra
man it man use nya omo de obianya ne share this season nti obianya 7 to obianya 6 so an nya 3
na make can weekend ye nra chidi ye
oh but your history in that history
me Uncle Ben yan ka say ka history me see weekend
history ka history before history nya history
hey Uncle Ben I say what the guys what
could you be me rounds
me just yes what one can bread to them me fa we say on was
yes
because what's if ni abom sade Akuba na yanko northern region kakrai northern region is o match mu miensa akwa north east ne savannah ne northern region ankasa but 2020 ni first time as regions no ebe to aba as separate regions it yanka northern region as it used to be na yanka nyina mum data na e hormo no etese obetimi ni agu pass through kakra walk us through
good let us say we for to get the gist of it you know Mayor Northern, Upper East, Upper West, Aboom. It will be within the 15 minutes now. They are mammy. Then the next time they share my year, the 3 Upper East, Upper West, they didn't split it. Next time they share on my year, the 3 regions, Savannah, Northeast, and Northern. For me, if you Northern region, the mono.
Omanfm.
Is it not that? But what the fire walking through?
Yo, Northern region. Under the 3 regions. Predominantly, majority over the years, they vote NDC. But in politics, when you aim at your opponent's stronghold, now we do see the voter. Yeah, unlike the U.S. elections, Ghana there your popular vote. Until we do see who opponent stronghold votes now, you also enhancing your chance. In northern region, 2012, MPP nya 39.1%. 2016, we nya 41.9%. NDC nya 58.2%. About down to 55.6%. In the UFA, MPP votes over MPP. In northern region in 2012 we 187,336 over 2016 the votes over MPP in northern region it was 140,470 that's a loss of about 47,000 votes in northern region
Omanfm.
Upper East region MPP 2012, women are 29.2%. 2016, it climbed up to 34.9%. And in Names, this is northern region, in Names, MPP, upper northern region, it was 383,000 plus. It went up to 429,000 plus. Upper East in the MPP, 120,814. In 2016, it was 157,398. 2016, about 27,000 more from 29.2 to 34.9. The NDC, from 66.4 in 2012, about down to 60.3. Votes over MPP, it was 2012, it was 153,000. In 2016, about 114. That is over 30,000 votes in Upper East.
Oman
Upper West, MPP, 2012, women are 29.2%. 2016, they appreciate to 35.9%. That is from 83,000 to 102,000. NDC, from 186,000 in 2012, above 4 to 167,000. That is from 65% in about down 7 percentage points to 58.3. So you can see, sir, in these three regions, over 100,000 votes were down. That is north 47,000. 830, about 70, about almost 100,000 votes. The MPP so from the gap NDC had over them.
I don't think Akbesa may share figures here. Akben.
Yes.
The may share figures here. Upper East, Upper West, and the Northern region. Then about 100,000 votes are MPP for Timmy Manager more close to gap no sana. Not just say 100,000 2008 runoff Nanado and Professor Mills difference of about 41,000. And they say it say yeah focus also Greater Accra as they decide that and I king of kings Nangasano and yeah we cut train of the regions to Bomark but I was who power.
You see what Greater Accra this year the voter population got in a serious. So we share even Greater Accra 2016 Nana 2020 a little over 1 million. In 2016 1 million and 62,000. So from 46 almost 46.9 almost 47%. Of course, 52, that's 5 percentage points. Now, Greater Accra this year, I'll put it in perspective with Ashanti region. In 2016, Greater Accra had over 191,000 votes more than Ashanti in 2016. This year, Greater Accra has over 440,000 votes more than Ashanti. More than double. That is the frightening thing about Greater Accra. Ashanti is second with a little over 3 million. Greater Accra is 3.5. You see, in general, no, a political party strategy should be an opponent's stronghold. You know you won't win. That doesn't mean for such or devil what they may lose. If the two parties have about 100 seats each, if they are each targeting, say, their parliamentary candidates should work hard and each get at least 2,000 votes more in your opponent's stronghold. It means that before takeoff for a minimum, you are giving your presidential candidate 200,000 votes.
Omanfm.
In 2016, saying NDC in these three regions managed to squeeze 100,000 off NDC. In voter region, MPP's attempt plus apathy, NDC between 2012 and 2016 lost over 100,000 votes in voter region alone. So it's only 200 core. Over a Greater Accra, there was apathy from some of the people in voter region. Even in our voter region, Greater Accra, the second most populous ethnic group in Greater Accra, in the airways, nearly 18% of the population. And before you win, you must be able to get the 3 regions. And Greater Accra has achieved a very frightening proposition because of the huge number of voters. No lockdown call for Oman, call for Jumasa, Unya, Baka, Papa, Homanya, and MPP, where the seats are safe, they have more voter population than the NDC stronghold.
You better call back to Sohonomon, but Waka Greater Accra, and I may find it to be Swimchamo. 2016, not number of voters were Greater Accra, and also number of voters in Ashanti region. But turn out to be say Ashanti region turnout was higher than Greater Accra, and I'm what?
Yes, in 2016, percentage wise, MPP are 76, which was even higher than Kufuor's first round victory of 2004, 74.6. You see, first, you must ramp up or say winner base. Anytime the MPP has gone below 75, level 73, because NDC crosses 30-32 in Ashanti, and they get over 35 in Eastern, trouble. So NDC, so first you must safeguard base, your favorite, your stronghold. Limit your opponent's votes, get as much votes as you can. Number cooperation regions. So the numbers are clear. If MPP is always able to get 60+% in Eastern, they get over 75% in Ashanti. They have a good base.
Alrighty, Agbesa enko Esrohonomo. Eno so far no waka presidential no the obia enyan. Your parliamentary so I made me say be focus on one of these regions parliamentary no say and here fan so far no sha battlegrounds no so ako cause
parliamentary no you could say yeah but when we say Garu say it's likely MPP will win because for all contesting independent na Oman Sakeneno. He was a former 3-time member of parliament for Garu. No, all called independent. And so, honey, there, it's very likely to say MPP will take that seat. Clearly, the MPP will take that seat. Ocean Bibitis, Kamongo, David Tidit, Dangi or quite independent of Savannah Mujina Pohono. Even though one make a list of Peter NDC guy, but he's perceived to be and most of the votes that he will get, is likely to be NDC votes. So that will help Abuja in defeating Mutawakilu. Uki region. From votes now, while we are catching in tomorrow, no MPP prefer seats. And Nadoli Kalio, on our upper west, Abambagio, Hono, we share a while, Abambagin or Incobium. Now we share Honwa in 2016, Bernard Mona, of course, candidate. We have 5,393 votes. Then the presidential candidate in 1,319. Most of Bernard Mona votes from NDC. In 2016, Bagbin got 14,000. MPP 9,000 plus. Bernard Mona 5,000 plus. Bagbin on Kobium. And in 2016, Mamanya 17,000. And then Ananya 8,000. So if Mona will lose the chairmanship of PNC or the last Kugu Shua, he will weaken the NDC candidate, which is not Bagbin. And MP Kombo Madia, they can take Nadonica leave seat.
Man, yam say factor back could be so and now ebi adwini ense da enko. We 2008 elections. That was the first time Anado and Dr. Baumia ekoye. 2012 also omokoye. 2016 also omokoye. We share performance of MPP in the three northern regions now. It is not the best though, but we share, as I said, there's a progression in terms of term beyond performance. No, 2012 was better than 2008, and the 2016 SIA better than 2012. 2020, are we going to see this, that kind of trend now? Say better than 2016. And looking at the new dynamics, about home population, no, and the performance of NPP, no, ever manner.
Oh, God, there's no doubt. Say, but Bamia's influence has helped MPP.
Omanfm.
Far, we'll do a percentage wise to make it easier instead of figures, which at times is difficult for the year. In 2004, Kufonya first round, only 36.2%. Runoff for 2008, that is Northern region, equal 38.3. Runoff for first round 38.4. Runoff equal 38.4. In 2012, equal 39.1. 2016 equal 41.9. So there has been progress. Upper East. California 31.7, runoff equal 35.2, but refers to equal 35, runoff on about 4 to 34. 2012, it came down further from runoff figure of 34% to 29, but 2016 it shot up to 34.9. Now the Upper West from California 32%. First round equal 37%. The runoff equal 38. 2012 on about 29.2. 2016 equal to 35.9. Godwin Nimina how the MPP will campaign in the strongholds of the NDC, the three northern regions. Now, some of the seats MPP in the three regions, I'm working on them. They won the seat because of disunity within the NDC in those seats. They are not able to come on and so the seats, the MPP are likely to lose. I mean, we call Western North to say,
but yeah, money enko Salaga constituency ho. Salaga constituency say matter say one or two issues be ewo ho no monti but yeah money enko and then baby na vrongo so baby Kofi Ada wo no akebe ho so ya money enko nyamba do ukada municipality no come
God na vrongo dey ko
Omanfm.
na vrongo is gone.
Na vrongo central is gone
because
one on there were a lot of issues flew across the two camps, not by themselves, by the supporters. Either you like him or hate him, is a cult figure in Navrongo Central. We create a more contest to know more votes than the presidential candidate. And maybe one famous diplomat, no quite back of a Maminumbuno. And the other doesn't campaign with her. And there will be a lot of apathy because at the moment, the other supporters may say, I don't come and know what they're going to do. So they will have to be with an accord on a so one can boom again. Yes, the two people are mature politicians. But the insults now and supporters generating obedience among themselves, the woman being at the Nimbiguas and the Uncle Con and Uncle too. So they don't go and do serious patch. Unfortunately, they are about 4 weeks to eat and all. Tabongo Central is gone.
Omanfm.
Wow. But that's serious. And
oh yeah, but it's never too late. This is one of the things that happen when when people insult each other, and you know that in the 3 northern regions, the excess influence does a lot of things. Over the years, we are contesting from Kufuor time, we are contesting. There were a lot of goodwill. Unfortunately, regional minister want now not in the Western region. No, I mean, I must say that Italy. No, I mean, regional minister. There are a lot of things went on. I don't want to repeat, but clearly, no. We'll go central. The city is gone.
And your pie for the meantime, I said the city is almost gone. And
we're almost gone to enter about there. You never know. It's almost gone because in the run-up, no, nothing begin. I know she. I know she.
Na no she. Me kadi kufiada. Kafa ma meno ho na just na no ya.
Mami some conform to be munano, but those there, young conform the loyalty is very important to them.
Omanfm.
Maybe.
All right, Uncle Benjamin, I'm not going to be a friend. You have to come so.
You got it. That's it.
I was for Uncle Ben Nelson, why ye editor, daily dispatch, and then we poster, and I want you think one now. Because then come on to take away me, you know, the Benjamin. So far, was in a room could be a no could fear at that one. It's almost gone back to the NDC. And it is a penny for 8 years. It is never too late. 3 weeks it's just a matter of bridging. Munim common for bonning, Chenny, Mofa, because yes, will be a bonny, and it will be a fan of your bonning and channel. And now, not doing so, yem say, according to beneficence, no, the air corner, baby, ura, Abbasman backbend, I won't know. Yem say, also, no, Yamia Duma, MP for us bit me afa, Mamutimuna Monte, Monkosra Monia Ding, which send the bit me abba. I was a for yem say had a deep program, ABC, and there. Now, me producers as usual, no. Dr. Muzi Oka, so much as mensa, and then the next until Buanagasa Bettina would be an Akiji, so Ekaho, Kokabaji, and the wa bread papa tell her, say, so tell this will use mobile phones by 5. Aha, and they said, Kobate. Social media for no so account Christ love ne vida ne kufi mam obusa form e da munyi na ase ya sorry so die and the silver lady ebe boy anyum papa kama na wo de hintasem no so aba and the iba yika se be ye amamre na me amefe na mabompa kakra ana mentwe fie da kwa me mu nkrabofo mpaye obusa for amato fie e da mase
Greenfield.
God is our healer.
Greenfield.
Journal stop.
Van capsules. V-E-N-E. Van capsule. Van capsules. V-E-N-E. Van capsules. A full supplement. A semutati. And a papa for 4. A year 2 and a 4. Now you're 424. What do you cry? A man,